Welcome back. Today we're going to practice our HTML, CSS and JavaScript skills by doing this single page. We're going to use mobile first development for this example because as you can see it's completely responsive. We have a navigation with a smooth transition. We have a toggle class with a Mansory layout, a newsletter, how to embed video, and a fully responsive footer. And for mobile first version we will have some toggle classes in order to show the content of each section of the footer. Finally, we will have a single pop-up for our mail support, a single form. And as I told you before, it's fully responsive. There you go, our Mansory layout and our footer. Okay, without further ado, remember this is NeoDev. Let's grow together and let's get started. Guys, I will leave this window open for future reference. Now let's jump into our VS Code. Remember to have installed this extension live server, right? Because we're going to use it. And regarding our images, I will leave the link on the description below of my pen, code pen. The whole code is inside of that pen, so don't worry about it. Now let's get started by typing just exclamation mark, hit enter. We have our boilerplate. Let's remove this meta tag because that's for Internet Explorer. And now a title should be clip 3, and finally, not finally, but next, the website icon. In this case is going to be our HPG logo. Let's remove the shortcut keyword over there and the type attribute. Those are for Internet Explorer. And finally, our icons. They are coming from this website, spoxicons.com/users. And I think that's it. Okay, now to get started with, we're going to create our header with the class of main underscore header, then an anchor tag with the class of logo should go to nowhere, and then inside of this an image, of course, my logo and logo. If I hit go fly server, you will realize that our image is or looks whooping. So I just want to mess around with the search as there is right here, so an X. And now since we are doing mobile first version, the next thing to do is to create our burger icon, but we will do it by using CSS, so don't worry about it. But why am I not using the icon from here is because I want to give it an animation. So let's create a burger and 3 lines, so times 3, line number 1, 2 and 3. All right, that is for our header. Now let's move on with our showcase. Now inside of this showcase, so let's just create it first. So this is going to be a section with the ID of showcase and the class of showcase, and finally class of set pad for padding. Now inside of this showcase we will have 2 divs, showcase underscore times 2, and the first div is going to be left. Inside of this div we will have 3 parts, so an h1, a paragraph tag, and an anchor tag, like so. This anchor tag has the class of call to action btn, and then our second div should be showcase underscore right, and inside of here, that div, we will have 3 images. So in order to save us some time, I don't want you to watch me type every single image. Just gonna paste what I already have here, and there you go, our gigantic images. So let me just mess around with the search attribute. Okay, I think that should do it. Now let's move on with our speakers section. Same idea here, we will have a section with the ID of speakers, if I can spell. Then speakers class and set pad class. Now first we will have a class with the speakers, speakers underscore top, and then an h1 other products, and then a button with a class of show underscore products, and input type of checkbox, but with the ID of checkbox, check box, and next to it our first icon. So box power off. I think that should do it, and there you go, we have our icon over there, and that's great. Next, outside of this div we will have another div. So first of all, let me scroll down a little bit, then let's create a div products, another div called products underscore inna, and finally here we will have our Mansory layout. I mean, in this section it comes with we have 9 images, 1 2 3 4 5 6 9 images, and each image is surrounded by a div called card, and then an image itself, then another div that is called card underscore text, and surrounds an h3 with a title. All right, since we are going to have 4 cards, 4 images, I don't want you to watch me type every single one, because the image comes with a source attribute, and that source attribute is coming for another web page. So I don't want you to watch me type every single one, so just gonna paste what I already have here. So let's go back. 1 2 3 4 5 9 images with each title, and that's great. Now let's scroll down a little bit first, and our next section will be our form. So this is going to be pretty straightforward. So first, the form tag with the ID of newsletter and the class of newsletter. Right, they're calling the same, but instead of the action attribute, I want the auto complete attribute to off. All right, because I don't want to show inside of our input some previous options that we insert or type before. Now on H2 they will say subscribe to our newsletter, then a div with the class of form control, and an input type. We'll have 2 inputs here, input email, input type submit, name with the ID of email, a placeholder, and finally my submit button, value submit, and ID of submit, like so. So basically this is our form. So next is going to be our video part. For this, let me scroll down a little bit. We'll have a section with the ID of video, same class, and set path class as well. Now h1 with the text of why you should get a JBL, and here we will have our first div called video underscore content, and another list with the class of video underscore perks, and 3 list items. So I already have them here, there you go, but each list item will have an icon from our what's icons page. So I already have it here, so 1 2 3, paste them, and this is our icon, a check. All right, now the second thing that we need to do now is to embed a video. For this part, let me just create a video underscore wrapper, because here we're going to inject our iframe. And please go to YouTube and type JBL clip 3 until you search this video, any other video, it doesn't matter. And after you see this share button, just click on that. Wait, let's go with the embed option, and you will have the iframe. Just grab that, paste it, but here we are only keep 3 attributes. So yeah, 3 attributes: source, frame border, and allow full screen. So let's remove this, and this is our embed video. Great. You just have to learn how to embed a video from YouTube. I mean, for the ones who didn't know that yet. Alright, now let's move on, and let's go with our footer. Scroll down again. So footer, ID of footer, class of footer, and set path again. Now instead of this, we'll create a new div called F stands for footer underscore menu, and we will have an footer, my god, menu item, and inside of this footer menu item head. I try to be pretty descriptive with the names. It's really hard for me to create some names. So store for h4, and we will have an icon which is going to be the plus and 2 lines, so times 2, 1, my god, 1 and 2 for the head of the header of the menu item. Now next, always next, and another list, always next from this div, for this head div, we'll have another list with certain list items. Again, I don't want you to watch me type it at all. You can find this part of the code inside of the code pen, because this is not important to type, just to learn what's going on next. Alright, now outside of that div, which is my item, footer item, we need to create another one. And this is going to go the same way, so let me just grab what I have here, paste, again, footer menu item, a footer menu item head, an h4, and the plus sign that we are going to create by using CSS, like so, this plus sign, alright? And to give it some animation, as you can see. Alright then, so this is our circle menu item with another list and certain list items. Alright then, let's move on, scroll down, and our other menu item is going to be this part. So let me grab what I have here, the head and the content. So just gonna grab, paste, scroll down, and we have another menu item with another menu item head div, h4, the plus sign, and the another list, and that's great. Now here we have some difference, so let me just grab what I have already here. Just gonna grab these two, copy, another, and this one I need to close the other one. Yep, there you go. But instead of this, I'm going to call it as well live underscore chat, because as you already seen, that part is not allowed or is not being displayed on the mobile first version. Okay, so we are going to use some kind of CSS property there to remove that. Now let's go back to our view. So inside of that head, what do we have? Just an h4. An h4, this is contact us. Alright, now outside of that div, I have an h5 that says business double N. God, cannot spell hours. Here I will have a paragraph with 1, 2, 3, 4 breaks elements, like so. Why? Because if we go here and then make this window bigger, this is the contact us. As you can see, this is just a paragraph with the break 1, 2, 3, and 4 breaks. All right. Okay, let's shrink this window back again. Let's go back. And okay, another menu that we will have, and is here. Yes, just gonna grab this again because I don't want you to watch me type every single one. Scroll down. Let's close that div as well, this other div. So here I'm going to give it another name, which is gonna be social, and for the head we will have the same idea, social media h4 and my plus icon. Then of course I will have my another list with each icon. So outside of this, another list which is with each icon, you know, Reddit, Facebook, Discord, Twitter, and Instagram. And that's great. Now outside of everything, which is footer menu, this div, we need to create another div called footer rights. So instead of this, I need to create a paragraph with a symbol called copy. We have ampersand copy semicolon, then span with the ID of year, this year, and the name, Harman International Industries. And finally, we need to create for our HTML the chat, just the HTML. The CSS we will deal with that later. So let's move on. Just beneath that, this is our chat section. So let's create an inside element in this case with the class of chat underscore box. We have our header, but in this occasion it's going to be chat underscore header. Okay, then an h1 with the support text, button with the class of close form. Oh my god, form. And here we're going to have an icon from our box icons webpage, like so. Let's scroll down. There you go. This is our button. Now outside of the header we need to create my form with the class of chat underscore form. And again, instead of action, I want, this is optional, you don't need to use that or to create that. Okay, now inside of my form I will have a new div called chat underscore inputs, and here we're going to have a label and input, and label and input for what exactly? Well, just the name and my email. And since I'm super lazy to type every single one, let me just grab what I have here, and inside of that div chat underscore inputs, let me paste, remove, scroll down, and there you go. Label, name, input, type of text, both inputs are required. All right, with that require attribute. All right then, so outside of that div, just beneath that actually, we will create a new footer that is for the form, and I'm just gonna call it chat underscore form underscore footer. And here we will have a button with a class of chat underscore btn and another attribute called type of submit. Here the text just start chat, like so. Okay, that's it for our aside. Now we need to create our aside button, our fixed button, button, and this chat. All right, so we will say again aside dot start underscore chat, and a button with the class of chat underscore btn, and an icon with a span. What icon? Well, this box chat icon and the span HTML element, like so. Where are you? This one. Okay. Alright guys, that's it for the HTML. I want to talk about Sass CSS or SCSS. I want to use SCSS to take the advantage of the fact that you can divide the code into modules. Before we start, let me remind you that you need to install this extension Lifesize compiler. After you do that, we can proceed by just creating a new folder called Sassy, and then our first file style.scss. Okay, after you install that extension, you will be able to see this little button that says watch Sass. Once you click on that, you will see that it will automatically generate a normal CSS file for us. Remember that this action will allow you to write Sass code while the extension compiles into normal CSS code. Now we need to create a new folder here called partials, because we're going to do this CSS call by modules, remember? And I'm going to call it config setup.scss. But why the underscore at the beginning? Well, Sass will know this file is only meant to be imported. So going inside of our style.css, SCSS, we need to say import, and who, well, my partial config setup. The extension is not needed because Sass already knows. Okay, now for the sake of this video, I'm going to use the add import instead of the add use, because only Dart Sass currently supports add use, and I don't want to get into npm packages and all that kind of stuff, since our main goal here is to practice some basic code skills. Alright, so let's go back inside of our config setup, and you need to go to Google Fonts and track this font family, OpenSens. Once you do that, with the import rule, just copy the font family rule as well, and we can proceed with our global CSS selector. So no margin, no padding, and box size and border box. Okay, let's remove this Google Fonts page. Nothing is happening because we need to target first of all our CSS. So link, then I need to say sassy and need to target that CSS file. Okay, because remember, the extension compiles the code into normal CSS code, like so. Okay, now instead of config, we need to style our scroll bar, and the way we can do that, if I just type in double colon, then hyphen webkit hyphen scroll bar, give it a width of 1 pixel, and there you go. Okay, next thing that we need to do in this partial is create a variable or some variables. In order to create a variable inside of SCSS, we just need to type $, whatever the name you want to put to the variable, and the value itself. I already have my variables here, so you don't have to watch me type it all. So just a shadow, some colors, and a transition. Okay, next, mixins. Mixins allows you to define styles that can be reused throughout your style sheet. And here we're going to create two mixins. First, flex config and the dimension. Flex config is pretty straightforward, just display flex property, align item center, and mixins can allow you to define some parameters. In this case, just an X, and this is for the justified content to be dynamic. My second mixin is for width and height of my element. It's going to control naturally the dimension of my element, and that's it. Now let's move on with our style.scss by just typing or grabbing the body. Let's select the body. Let's go with my font family that I already have right here, just because I'm super lazy typing. Let's give it a width, 100 view width, and overflow X of hidden. That should do it, and there you go. Okay, remember that we established a global CSS that was set padding for padding, and each section that has that class will have a padding of 2em value. Great, we need to move on with the new partial, and in this case is going to be my header.scss. Do not forget to import that. So after this, just add import partials and the header. Do not forget the semicolon. Remember that our header has the class of main header, so naturally we just need to say main underscore header, and to start with mixing, we need to call it by just typing @include and the name of the mixing. Flex config, and this is going to be cern. I got config, and the value for justified content is cern. Now let's give it a box shadow with the value of shadow variable. Give it some padding, 0.5 top and bottom, 2em left and right. Let's give it a position of relative, and I need to target my image. Let's give it a width of 3em. Of course, you need to be able to see that, and by just typing or removing this X. Okay, don't worry about it. Is you're looking this header like that due to the image because they are huge. Don't worry about it. Okay, now the header. Okay, we need to style our burger. So burger, we need to target the div, and I almost forgot. Yes, Sass allow us to do some nesting like a normal HTML. Same way here. So I need to target my burger, and inside of that burger I have 3 divs. So basically it's saying that right here. So for my div, I need to call my mixing dimension and to give it a width of 24 pixels and a height of 3 pixels. Then let's give it a background color of the gray color, and let's give it some spacing between each line, 5 pixels, margin 5 pixels. There you go. Now I need to give it a transition with the value, my variable transition, because when my burger is being hovered, I want to target the div and change that background color to the orange color. Okay, so if I hover now, there you go, orange color. Now ampersand in Sass is always going to meet the direct CSS selector file. In this case it's burger, so if my burger has the class of hover, I want to target the div and change that background color. Okay, now for my burger itself, let's position this as an absolute. Let's go with the top 2.8 ph. Let's go with the right property with the 8 view width and the cursor of pointer, and there you go, it's right there. Okay, don't worry about this space because remember that is due to our images. We will fix that later. All right then. Okay, since we're going to create each partial, so we're going to do this part, each section of our HTML file, a partial. So let me just create all the partials that we're going to use in this code for this video, and let me just import it right here inside of our style.css. So I will be right back. Alright, I'm back. I just created all the partials that we're going to use in this video as well. I just imported all of them. So the next part is going to be our showcase. So we just need to type showcase, Control B, and start with include flex config, flex start for justified content, flex direction column because we are using mobile first design. Then remember, inside of our showcase we have two divs. So showcase underscore left, I'm using nesting and ampersand. Ampersand means the direct file, so this is just that showcase underscore left. And for this one I need to say text line cern. Now I need to target the h1 and my paragraph tag. For this is pretty straightforward, just a font size, margin, a color, there you go. And finally my anchor tag. So for my anchor tag pretty much the same, and I'm going to use as well a hover effect for that. So just gonna paste to save us some time. Let me explain. So display is an inline block element, so margin, padding, font size, text decoration to get rid of the underscores, and color, border color, radius, and the transition for the hover effect. Okay, now for the right side, let me just remove, this is the left. Okay, let's go with the right side. So ampersand right, we just need to say the height, establish 45.7 view height. Displays, this is a flex, and then justify content at the center. Alright, now I need to target each image to give it a height of 100%. Okay, and let's go right here and remove those X. So 1, 2, 3, and I think that should do it, and there you go. But since we're doing mobile first design, we just need to get rid of the last image, so we're going to use CSS pseudo selectors. So image last child display is none, and there you go, that should do it. Great. Now we need to move with our next part, which is, where are you? Speakers, yes, right here. This is our next part. So we need to target our speakers and start with no padding at the top. So let me scroll down. Okay, you see no padding. Now the second thing I want to do is to fix my images right away. Remember that my images are inside of a cart, and we have our image. Let's go with the width of 100% to make it responsive, and height of auto. And there you go, we have our images. Okay, then let's carry on with the next part, which is, let me see. Okay, we need to target the speakers underscore top and say to margin bottom 1 to rem, point to rem. Now I need to target the h1. The h1 for this is just a display inline block element. Why? Because I want to be side to side, the bottom and my h1. Okay, that's the reason, and to give it some margin as well. Now I'm going to create a neomorphisms effect for my show products button. So let me start with the dimension and a specific box shadow, like so, 60 pixel width and height for my button. Then let's give it some border, radius border, 3 pixels solid that color, and no outline. Let's give it some margin, give it position relative color, and the font size for our icon. See? Now please go and do this step by step. I need to call again my button, but I need to use the has relational selector. So colon has and parentheses. The has relation selector can be used to check if my feature inside of this parenthesis is true, and I need to use the greater than sign, which means if it contains what? Well, my checkbox. Remember my input checkbox, and if that checkbox is checked, I need to run the following styles. I need to change the color and my box shadow in order to get my neomorphins effect. So if I go here, if I check, there you go, we have our neomorphins effect. You see? Now next we need to style that input itself, so we need to grab my checkbox one by one. Let's give it a position of absolute, top none, left none. There you go. Now we need to call our mixing dimension with a high 100%. Do you see? I'm checking now. And finally I just need to say opacity of none, and of course cursor pointer. Now I know that my checkbox is above this button, so if I check, you're looking at the neomorphins effect for my button. Okay, that's awesome. All right, let's move on and target our products. So just right here, products, and I need to give it a margin button 3.5 rem. Yes, indeed, this rem, to give it some space. Now I need to create my Mansory, Mansory layout. So I need to target first my product underscore inner, which is inside of the products div, and I need to make sure that this inner product is going to have the same height as its father, like his father. Now in order to create our Mansory layout, we just need to type the property columns. First, column count. How many columns do we want? Well, 3. And then the column width. Column width dictates the minimum width for each column. In this case, going to be 200 pixels. And finally, let's just give it a column gap of 1 em. And there you go. We have our Mansory layout. Okay, we need to fix a few things first. So inside of card, we need to give it a cursor of pointer, position relative, margin button, overflow hidden, and some shadow, like so. Okay, this is for each car. Now inside of that car, remember that we have car underscore text, so ampersand underscore text, and inside of that we had our h3, I guess. So for our h3, let's grab that and give it some margin for that. Again, nesting for that h3, and there you go. Now for the car underscore text itself, I need to say the following. First, a position of absolute c index -1, because it's going to be behind scenes first of all, in order to get this result, this hover effect. I mean this one, this is the hover effect. Okay, so initially we'll have this c index as -1, but let's remove that for now. Now let's go with the color. It's going to be the white color, and then let's give it the position, top initially 0, left 0, and now let's include the dimension. The dimension will be full width and height, so 100%. You see? And finally, in order for you to be able to see that dimension, we just need to set the background color, RGBA, and there you go. All right, now let's go with the hover effect, which basically we need to say if my car is being hover, I need to target my car underscore text and change the set c index back to 2, or actually to the level 2. So if I uncomment this and then start hover, and there you go. However, we have a little bug, a defect there. You can see this white line of each image. So in order to fix that, we need to go inside of the image itself and say the following: margin bottom -3%, and that should do it. You see? minor borrow 3%, and it is already fixed. Great. Now we need to move on with our next part, which is the newsletter. So let's remove that and start with some padding. Let me close that up, scroll down. It's my newsletter. We have some padding. Let's give it a position relative width of 80%. Okay, and here we're going to have our margin -4 rem and left and right auto. And let's give it a border radius. Border radius 0.3 em. In order for you to be able to see what's going on, let's give it a light gray color background. I think I misspelled something, I'm missing the T here. And there you go. Why -4 rem for margin top and bottom? Because we need to have this effect. Where is it? Which is above or between this section and the others, the previous section. Okay, that's the reason. This is the key to give it a -4 rem. All right, now let's continue by including our mixing, flex config, and flex direction column. Since we're doing mobile first version, I need to target my H2. It's going to be pretty straightforward, doing some, again, nesting inside of it naturally. Where are you? My H2, yeah, right here. And then I need to target my email input, email. First of all, give it a width of 100%. Margin, no margin right, margin right of none. Border radius 10 pixels. Border should be 1 pixel solid, and the color 787878. Then let's go with outline and none. Give it some padding and 0.9 em, and finally a margin bottom with value 1 rem. Okay, this is for our email. Now for my submit button, it's gonna be almost pretty much the same. So just gonna grab what I have here, scroll down and paste. Submit displays a block element with 100% and padding, border radius, outline, color, cursor pointer, some basic styles. Right, great, that's for our newsletter. Let's move on with our video part. As my newsletter is overlapping my content, I just need to say the following. First, target the video and give it some padding top. And there you go, we are showing the content now. Now let's give it a background color for that section and the text color of white, like so. Okay, then I need to target my H1, so H1 right here, and say text align at the center. Then let's give it a font weight 400, and let's give it a margin bottom up to rem. Okay, there you go. Now I need to target first of all my perks. Initially they are not there for mobile first design, so naturally you just need to say video underscore perks display none to get rid of those perks or non-release. Then I need to target my wrapper and start with a height what 15 view height, and then I need to target the iframe itself, and to call my dimension I need that to be 100% width and height. So there you go, we have our video part. Now let's move on, and we need to work with our navigation now. So we need to create our navigation naturally with the ID of nav and the class of nav. Okay, now inside of this we're going to have an unordered list and some list items with the class of nav underscore link and an anchor tag. The anchor tag will lead you to another section within the same document, in our case our own HTML file. So this is why each section we set a unique ID. Remember, for instance, section has the ID of showcase, speakers, newsletter, and so on. So for instance, if I click the footer, it will take us to the first section. Okay, now let's move on, guys, inside of our header partial, and between the main header and the burger we need to say nav. Let's give it a position of absolute. Let me scroll up a little bit so you will be able to see. There you go, scroll down this part, and let's carry on with the top 10 view height value, C index number 1, A background color should be the dark, so dark color. And then let's include our dimension. Include our dimension 100% width, but 19 BH, view height, because 10 plus 19 makes 100. And there you go. This is our whole navigation, like our final view here. This is our final view. So let's carry on and target by using nesting the unordered list and saying add, include, flex config, and space around for justify content. But since we are doing mobile first version, let's go with flex duration column just to make sure. There you go. Now let's give it a height. The whole unordered list will have the same height as the navigation. You see? Great. Again, nesting for each list item, we need to get rid of those bullets. So list style, none. We need to give some margin, 0, 1 em, and of course we need to include our dimension. But in this case, it's going to be 100% both width and height. Great. Now, again, nesting, we need to target an anchor tag. Anchor, not Q, anchor tag. We need to start with color. Let's go with the light gray color, light gray color. Let's go with text decoration none, because we need to get rid of that underscore, and we need to include our mixins. Flex config, justify content zero, and dimension 100%. Let's give it a font size and font weight, like so. And finally, a hover effect. For my hover effect, for my anchor tag, I just need to change the background color. So if my anchor tag is being hover, I just need to change the background color, like so, like our final view. Okay, let me just refresh this page and carry on now with the functionality. We need to create our main.js file. Do not forget to include that before the body closing tag. So script, source, and the main.js. What do I want? First, to start with, I need to change the shape of my burger icon from burger to an X. So, done manipulation. Document that query selector who my burger, and then call it burger to store that in that variable, and just need to say burger that listener of what, naturally click, and then a separate function that I'm going to call click menu. Now above this, so function click menu, no params, I just need to say my burger has the class list, and then say the method of toggle who, my active class, which I haven't created yet. But if we go back inside of our header, where is my burger, I need to say the following: if my burger has the class of active, I need to target the line number 1 and to give it this transform CSS property. Need to rotate that and translate. The same idea will go for the line number 3, but instead of minus 45 degrees, it's gonna be 45, and both of them here in translate is gonna be minus. Now for the line number 2, this one, I just need to say opacity of none. So it's already attached. Let's give it a whirl, and there you go. Yeah, and that's awesome. Okay, moving on, we need to talk about the navigation, because the whole navigation is coming from the right side of your window or the viewport to the left. So naturally, we need to grab the navigation. It's pretty much the same idea. So just gonna copy, paste, change this to nav. Let's change this to nav because that is the manipulation. And finally, again, copy, paste, and this is going to be the nav. Sorry, nav. Oh my god. Okay, navigation is going to toggle the class of active. Now we need to go back inside our header partial and search for my navigation. Let's give it initial values of what, because it's coming from the right, so we need to move that the whole navigation to the right outside of my viewport and start with the opacity of none. Now, JS class. If my navigation has the class of active, I need to reset everything naturally back to 0 and opacity of, opacity of 1. Okay, now let's give it a whirl now. And there you go. But the content is just popping. We need to give it a smooth transition. So here we'll say transition, my transition variable. Okay, let's give it a shot again. And there you go. Great. However, I need to do some extra features here because as you can see, each list item is coming or is showing up one by one. So in order to achieve that, first we need to manipulate those lists. I'm just going to call them list for list item, say document that query selector, in this case all of them. I need to target my nav and the nav underscore link, because remember, all my list items, they have the class of nav underscore link, like so. Okay, so I grab those list item, and I need to, before I start here with my main JS, I need to start with my basic styles. So where are you? Right here. So same idea, initial values. I need to start with opacity of none, transform, translate, how many, 80 pixels, and a smooth effect, so transition with my variable of transition. And now outside of this, I'm going to create a keyframe, an animation. So add keyframe, going to call it show li for list items, and I'm going to use the keywords from to, basically from the initial position, which is opacity 0 and translate 80 pixels, to reset those values to opacity 1 and translate 0 pixels. I need to call this keyframe inside of my main JS. But how can we do that exactly? Well, inside of my click menu, because remember, just by clicking the burger icon is triggering the whole action, all of the actions, like so. It's triggering the all of the actions. So here inside I need to loop through them first of all. So just for each list item, but here I'm going to use the index. My index. So list item stands for the iteration for our loop for each method, and then the index itself. Okay, then the callback function will go like this. Each list item we have the style of animation, and this will be equals to a formula. Let me just grab what I have here. This is animation name, duration, animation timing function, and this is going to be field mode, and this is the delay. This is where the magic happens. So this is the reason why each list item is showing one by one due to the animation delay. All right, so let's give it a whirl. There you go. Everything seems to look nice. However, if we click the burger icon again, the animation doesn't work anymore. So inside of this for each, we need to say, we need to reset the animation. To it, we're going to use first of all a ternary operator. We need to say if my animation exists. Let me just grab this. If my animation exists, I want to reboot the whole animation. Otherwise, please run the animation. Okay, so if my animation exists, restart the animation. Otherwise, just run the animation. Okay, so let's give it a shot. And again, and again. Great, but now we have two issues here. If we click any link, the navigation doesn't withdraw, or it doesn't go away. And when the menu is active, like this, I don't want the user to be able to scroll up or down. So we manage the first point by typing the following line, just right here. I'm gonna grab my list items, I'm gonna loop through them, so my god. For each, I'm gonna grab each list item and attach a listener of what? Of click, and then call the menu sorry, click menu function. Let me explain you. When clicking on the burger icon, it adds the active class to the burger and the nav. And when I click one of any of these links, okay, it's going to call that function again. Therefore, it's going to toggle the class active. In this case, it will remove the class active for my burger, my navigation, and if my animation already exists, it's going to restart that animation. Okay, so let's see. If I click on this, any link, there you go. Now my navigation goes away, and that's great. Now, the second point to fix, when the menu is active, I don't want the user to be able to scroll up and down. I need to create a new class. So inside of my main, actually style, right here, I need to create the following style: stop scrolling. So this is gonna be with the height 100% and overflow hidden. This class is going to be for my body, so we need to call that body. Since we only have one body, just need to say document that query selector just the body. And the same idea as we did before, just gonna copy this, paste. This is for my body because I need to change or toggle that class, which was called stop scrolling, like so. So now when my menu is active, the user won't be able to scroll. So let me just grab this and refresh the page. So if my menu is active, I'm not able to scroll up or down. Great. Now a last thing to do is to give it a smooth transition. When the user clicks of any of these links, it takes us to that section of the page, but smoothly. So in order to do that, we just need to go back inside of our style.css and just saying HTML scroll behavior, so scroll behavior smooth. So if we go back and let's refresh just in case, and let's go with the ver, and it's taking us to that part of our document smoothly. Next, we need to deal with the showcase. I mean, when my page first loads, my content is being displayed, this part of my showcase. So I need to achieve that by going within the showcase partial, where are you, and say the following. Pretty much the same idea. We need to establish the initial values for this. So initial values, already have them right here, and we're going to call the transform and opacity of none initially, and then I need to call an animation. So animation property, I'm going to call a keyframe move to the right, duration, fill mode, and timing function, the speed of the animation, right? I'm going to create that keyframe, just gonna have it right here outside of my left section. So follow that line outside of this, creating that keyframe, and that should do it. You see, my content appears from the left to the right. Same idea will go for each image, one by one, with a certain delay. So again, my image, go initial values. For this one, we'll have an opacity of 0 and transform translate, but in this case a positive 300 pixels. I need to create an animation, so animation move to the left, 6 seconds, the same idea, and need to create that keyframe. So since I already have it here, to don't waste time, just gonna copy, and inside, where are you, sorry, outside of my images, I just need to create a keyframe for my image. So if I refresh the page, go here, and okay, again, it's so slow, there you go, but I need to show my image one by one. So I need to establish to my second child, my second image, an animation delay, not fill mode, but delay, with the value of 0.18 seconds. And for the last one, I need an animation delay with the value of 32.32 seconds. But since we're doing mobile first design, I need to get rid for now for my last image. Need to get rid of my last image. Okay. Awesome. Now our next part is going to be our toggle class. This one. When I click on this, it's going to toggle my Mansory layout. So we need to grab these two elements first. Where are they? Yes, my checkbox and the product itself. So we need to go inside of our main.js and grab those elements. Checkbox, get element by ID, of course checkbox because that's the name I put it, then the products, query selector, that product. And we're going to have the same idea. We need to grab the checkbox, so checkbox at listener because it's going to be click. It's going to be click, and then I need to call naturally or create my callback function with the arrow function, and just need to say the following. Just gonna grab this, copy, paste. It's gonna be products because I'm going to, my god, going just to toggle a class of active instead of stop scrolling. So products class will toggle active. Again, same idea. We need to go back inside of our products. So in this case, I think it was speakers. The products class, where are you? Yes, right here. And initially this will have the display none. And now we need to say if my products has the class of active, I need just to display that back as a block element. So if I click on that, there you go. We are showing our Mansory layouts. Sorry, a Mansory layout. Now we need to move on with media queries. So we already have that partial. Where is my media query? Right here. And we need to start with our first breakpoint, which is gonna be 576 pixels. So let me shrink this window and let this window a little bit bigger so you will be able to see the difference. And I need to target this first one. I need to target my last image, which is inside of my showcase, which is inside of the showcase underscore right, and display that as a block element, to show the last image. Next, I need to target my newsletter for this breakpoint. So scroll down. This is my newsletter. It's gonna paste, close there up, and to change that padding for my newsletter. My god, there you go. And then I need to target my email. So for my email, using nesting, change the dimension, border right, margin button, and same idea is gonna go with my submit button. First of all, display inline block element as an inline block element to be side to side. Change the width, margin left to position this a little more to the left side, and then some border radius. All right. Now our second breakpoint is going to be 768 pixels. So scroll down, close that up, and we need to start with my showcase. Why? Where is my showcase? Here I need to be them to be side to side. So flex duration row, then justify content space space around. Okay, this is space around. Now in order for you to be able to see that, let me just, and there you go, scroll this to shrink this window, actually not scroll, and there you go. Now you're able to see it. Now inside of this, we're doing some nesting again. ampersand underscore left for the left side, naturally text align left. We need to target the h1, the paragraph, and the anchor tag. So I already have them right here, and there you go. We just change that with the margin left and a width for our paragraph tag. Now our newsletter. So outside the showcase newsletter, we need to call and say flex direction row. Okay, for this one, I need to grab my h2, my email, and my submit button. Just change the font size for my h2, the dimension of my email, and the height to fit the dimension of my email to be equal. So that's the reason that it has the same, dimension, both of them. Okay, now I need to target my video content because, as you can see, we are showing now the perks section right here. Okay, so outside of this, we need to say video underscore content. I need to call my mixing flex config. So just gonna grab this flex config, space around, but I need to display, of course, my perks first of all. So right here, close that up, displays a block element, and then give it a my li, get rid of those bullets and give it some margin, and the icon itself, which is inside of my li, give it some margin. Let me make this window a little bit wider, and there you go. Okay, this is our video, but we need to target our iframe right here. So outside of these perks, we need to say video underscore wrapper and change, or actually target the iframe itself. And now, yes, change the width of 50 view width, and that should do it. Okay, pretty much the same. Okay, now moving on, we need to work now with our navigation, because as you can see, we are showing all of the links right now and not the burger icon. So above everything inside of this breakpoint, I need to call my navigation. My god, my navigation. All right, and do it. I'm going to do it this part step by step. Okay, so step number 1, position static to return our menu to the normal document flow. Okay, then let's go with opacity 1. Okay, then we need to target my list item, each list item, and to give it opacity of 1, and translate x back to 0 pixels, like so. Okay, now the next thing to do is, inside of our another list, we need to say flex duration row, and there you go, row direction. Now our next thing to do is to include my dimension for my navigation. So width and height should be auto, and there you go. Now since I'm on the bigger screen, like tablet screen resolution, I need to viewport, I need to get rid of my burger. So outside of nav, we need to say burger display none. There is no burger anymore. Next, we need to toggle our main underscore header and say justify content space between. Okay, great. Now I need to get rid of that background color. So right here in my navigation, background color transparent. Naturally, I need to change the color of this and the font size. So inside of my list item anchor tag, no Q anchor tag, remember using nesting, I need to change the font size and the color. So like this, there you go. I need to change that hover effect. So again, nesting by using the ampersand. If my anchor tag is hover, I need to change the background color back to transparent, but the text color to the orange color. That should do it. Let's give it a whirl, and there you go. Seems nice, but we have a new bug here. If we click of any of these links, our scroll behavior vanishes. So to solve that, because remember, when we click on any of these links, we are calling the click menu. We are toggling the body to have the stop scrolling class. So that's the reason I'm not able to scroll. So in order to fix that, I need to go inside of this main.js, inside of this click menu function, and grab this in all of them inside of an if statement. We're going to use the window object, like so, window that inner width, if it's less than 768 pixels, which is my breakpoint. Okay, so I'm grabbing everything inside of this conditional. So if my window is less than 768 pixels, just trigger this action. If it's bigger, like it is at the moment, do not trigger anything. Do not trigger this function. So let's go back at the top. As you can see, I'm able to scroll again, but let's give it a whirl. Just again. Let's go with the footer, and I'm able to scroll up and down. So bug solved. The latest bug we need to fix here is if we shrink this window again, and if we click on the burger icon, you see, then resize this window back again. If we try to scroll up or down, nothing happens. Even if we click any of these links, it takes us to the accordion section where we cannot scroll either. Therefore, to puzzle out this bug, we need to use the window object. So going back inside of our main.js, right here, right at the top of everything, let me paste what I have. I'm calling my window object. I'm attaching a listener, which is resize. And inside of my callback function, I'm saying, if the window inner is more than 768 pixels, please remove all of the classes. And one of these classes is my body, stop scrolling. So now, if my window is bigger than 768 pixels, I will be able to scroll. Therefore, let's try that again. So I have my page here. If I scroll this window, call this action, this burger, scroll down, expand this window and click of any of these links, I'm still able to scroll up and down. And that's great, bug solved. But guys, remember we left our footer behind. So as you can see, it haven't been styled yet. So let's shrink this window, expand this VS Code part. Let's go within our footer and let's get this started by just saying, grabbing the footer of course, and give it a background color and a text color of white. There you go. Now I need to have my footer menu underscore item and give it a position of relative. Now I need to target first my that live underscore chat, because this live underscore chat is actually, where are you? This part, this is my chat. Okay, I need to get rid of that for mobile first design, as you can see. So display none. Now I need to get my icons. I just call them social, under release, text align at the center. So those are my icons on the center. Then I need to grab each list item, and in order to get rid of those bullets, we just need to say display inline block. Then give it some margin, some space between them, left and right, one rem. There you go. And now in order to continue, I want to grab this right away. So this is our footer underscore right. I need to give it a margin top 2 with the value of 2m, and the paragraph itself text line at the center, like so. Okay, now let's carry on. Let's go back at the top, and the next part we need to select is the footer menu item head. So ampersand underscore head. I need to include my mixing of flex config with the value of justify content space between. All right. Now I need to add some padding, cursor pointer, and a border bottom for my head. Okay, there you go, this is a head. Now we need to create our plus sign. So inside of our head, outside, plus, let's go and display. This is a grid element to center that, and then place items center. This is the rather fast way to center some elements. okay, this is, of course, nothing is happening because we need to create that line first. So remember, inside of our plus sign, we will have a div. Let's include my dimension, give it a background color and a position. There you go. Now I need to target my L1. So inside of plus L1, I need to give it a transform, rotate 90 degrees and a transition. This is our plus sign and that's awesome. Okay, I think I didn't miss anything. Okay, so let's carry on now with my H4. H4 stands for this part: store, support, about us, and social media. So I'm just gonna grab what I already have here. So type plus, got my H4, text transform, capitalize, a little bit of font size. Then each of my another list, let's get rid of those annoying bullets. So another list style none. Let's close this, scroll down, and there you go. Okay, now we need to work with my JS animations classes. So basically I'm targeting my head, and if this head has the class of active, I need to get rid of my border bottom, so none. But why the head? Because as you can see in our final page, we can click, this is the head actually. If I click the whole head, it's showing the content and so on. And this is plain toggling the content. Pretty much the same idea as we did so far. And okay, this is the first one because if I click the head, I'm getting rid of this border bottom. Now we need to say the following now. If my head has the class of active, I want the immediately sibling, which is the another list, to be displayed as a block element. But we need to display this initially as a none, you know, to be able to see the content later. But let's just comment this for a while. And now let's go on with my head. Where are you? Head, active, the plus, and the L1. Need to give it a transform, rotate 360 degrees to be able to do this effect. You see? Plus to minus, plus to minus. Alright then. So this is for our JS animation, and we need to target the list item itself. So first of all, text transform, capitalize. Then a padding, font size, cursor pointer, and a hover effect, all of them inside of this. And there you go. We have our list items already styled. Our next step is to go inside of our main.js and grab each head, each footer head. Okay, so I already have it right here. Just gonna grab and paste that up. I just call it f_title, document query selector, all of them because we have several of them. Footer menu_item_head. And as I told you before, we just need to toggle a class. So sorry, beneath everything, just need to say f_title, scroll this, gonna loop through them, and I'm going to call it head. Then my callback function here, I need to attach for each head a listener of what a click, because remember, when I click, the head is going to show my content. So again, callback function here, call the head, call the class list, call the toggle method, and call the active class, because that's the name that we put it. Where are you? It's my folder. Yes, active. All right, so let's give it a whirl. Of course, first our inner list should have the display node initially in order to, you know, to see it work. Get rid of this and toggling. As it is, you can leave this code like this because it's working properly. No mistakes there. But if you want this behavior of, if I click this, it's showing this content, but if I click another head, it's going to get rid of the previous one and show the new one. Okay, in order to do that, we need to say the following. Inside of my click event, I need to to loop through them again. So f_title for each I'm just going to call it I for item, just to not get confused with the head. And here for my callback function, I'm going to use a conditional. I will say item. If my current item is not equal, oh my god. So item is not equal, then the head is being looping at the moment, or is being clicked at the moment. If they are not equal, I'm going to use the logical AND operator. Please trigger this function. So it's going to be item that class list that remove the active class active. So basically here looping, attaching a listener right here, and looping again for each title and saying if they're not equal. So if I click this one, of course it's not going to be equal than the previous one, therefore it's going to remove this class for the previous one and add that class to the new one. See, that's how you read this piece of code. Next, we need to work with the media queries for our footer. So inside of the second breakpoint, we need to say f underscore menu. We need to target my head. So first underscore item, and then underscore head, ampersand underscore head. For this, I just need to get rid of 3 things, but before we do that, let me just shrink this window, expand this one to make sure that it's more than 768 pixels. And we need to say, first of all, cursor default. We need to change or get rid of the border button, and we need to target our plus sign to be displayed as none. Then outside of the head, we need to target our honor list and to display this as a block element to show my links items. There you go. Now I need to be focused on the live chat. I need to show that up. So ampersand that live chat display, this is a block element, and I have an h5 and where are you, and a paragraph tag. So for that, it's just a simple styling of text transform, padding, and font size. And for the paragraph, we set a line height to give some space between each line. And yes, just a font size. Okay then, now we need to target the footer right, which is this part, and actually just the paragraph tab, this part, to be equal as our final view. So in order to do that, outside of the footer menu, we type in footer underscore right, targeting the paragraph tag, give it some padding top and border top, like so, the white color, and there you go. Okay. Now, then if I scroll up a little bit until I'm inside of this footer menu, let me just expand this window, my VS Code, and let's get started with display. This is a grid as a grid element. Then grid template columns, we're going to use the repeat function, how many columns and how many space do we want, one fraction. And one FR represents a fraction of the available space in a grid container. So we have just 4 columns, but remember we have 5 items, so naturally the last item is going to be pushed till the next line or the next row. Now the second thing I want to do is to say grid auto rows. We're going to use the min max function when it's set from 0 until max content keyword. Okay, we haven't not explicitly created or defined the rows template. I mean, we didn't use the grid template rows, we use this one because these properties that we specify is for the height, is declaring the height of additional rows, in this particular case just for the social media part. Okay, and the max content is used to set the size of an element, in this case just the height. All right, okay, great. Moving on, we need to target our first element, this first item, footer item. So inside of this, we're going to use again the ampersand and pseudo CSS selector first child. And here we're going to use the grid row and grid column shorthand properties. This property determines a grid item's location within the grid by referring to specific grid lines. Remember, when we have a grid container, we have grid lines. So basically here, we're gonna say grid row, and I want to start from the line 1 until this is grid row start, and this is gonna be grid row end, and it's going to span 2 spaces or 2 lines. So my first child has been spanned top till the bottom, so line 1, line 2, and until line number 3. Great. Now I need to say my last child, which is my social media part. Okay, I want to push that at the bottom. So in order to do that, we just need to say grid column and just number 4. And there you go. Alright guys, a brief recap of what we did with our footer. We applied the footer grid layout, grid layout to our footer. So display grid, 4 columns, and remember that we had 5 items, so that's the reason that the last item is being pushed at the end, also until the next row. Remember that in a grid layout we have something that is called grid lines. So this is for our columns, so 5 lines of columns and 3 lines of rows. Now, what happened if I apply this to our first child? It's going to start for grid row, line 1, and it's going to span 2 lines, so 2 to 3, like this. And then what if I apply this to our last child, which is the yellow square? Is going to move that yellow square until the line number 4 for our column, because this stands for column start and column end. But by default, in this case, if no add line value is declared like this, the item will be spanned 1 track by default. So that's the reason is spanning from the line number 4 until the line number 5, and that's what happened. Right guys, now the last thing to do, just beneath this part, this grid column 4 for our last child, we need to use some nesting and declare the following: text align left, and list item displays an inline to be 1 by 1 next to each other, and remove the margin that we set before. Great. Now we have a little bug, but not that notorious, but still a bug. It's the same bug that we had with our menu overlinks before. Now if I click here, the store, and shrink this window, you will be able that it's open. My URLs are open, are visible. Now, and in order to adjust that, we need to apply the same logic as we did before. So we need to go back inside of our main.js, inside of our event listener right here, and say if my window inner width is less than my breakpoint, I need to apply those actions. So let me just close this, tap this little part. So only if my window is less than that breakpoint, please apply those actions, which means that my head of my menu will be able to be clicked, but only for less than that breakpoint, 768. Now let's go back. If I click on this support, I just click on support. Support should be open, but it's closed because it means it works. But again, if I open this and expand this window, shrink that again, this still is open. So we will use the resize event again. Therefore, let's go back inside of our, just right here, main.js, and this is my window, this is my resize, and I just need to say the following. So I'm grabbing my footer title, I'm looping through each title and getting the head, for my iterator, and just saying head dot classlet dot remove who, the active class, because when I click on that head, I'm toggling or activating that class, the active class. Now when the window has been resized, which means there is more than that breakpoint, I just need to remove that active class. So again, if I click on this, span, shrink this window, is closed, and awesome, that worked. And I know this video is quite long enough, but I bet that we are learning something new here and just practicing our skills. So now guys, finally our chat part. Shrink this window, expand our VS Code. Let's go with our chat partial. And well, before we do that, we need to go inside of our style to target the body. Where is it? and to give it a position of relative. For this one, position relative, because regarding to our body is that our button, so start underscore chat, is going to be positioned as fixed, like this. Where is it? This is my start chat. Now let's position now. So first of all, C index number 5. Let's give it a bottom of 20 pixels and the right position of 2%. And that is my bottom. Okay, now then I need to, where is it? Okay, I need to target my chat button. So right here we will say button that chat underscore btn, this one, and I need to add a padding. So 7 rem, sorry, 0.7 rem, 0.9 rem. There is my button. Now let's give it a border. Okay, in order for you to be able to see what's going on, let me go at the end of everything. Okay, this is my button, and I need to, let me comment that out. Comment, let's go back inside of chat, let's copy it, and this is our fixed button. You see, it's taking shape. Now let's go with the border radius for this part to give it some, styling, border radius. And remember, this goes with top left, top right, and down left. Okay, now let's move on and give it a background color, and font size. Orange, color white, cursor pointer, font size. And remember that inside of this button we have a span element, which is the chat. And I just need to say, by using nesting, span, font size, oh my god, not fit, font size 9 rem, that 9 rem, and there you go, like our final view. Great. Now we need to inject back again our chat box, so let me uncomment this, and let's go back here. So this is the chat box, so let me scroll down and start with the chat underscore box. Again, position fixed. Let's give it a bottom 20 pixels, same value, right, 2%. And C index initially number 9. Let's give it a width of 300 pixels. Let's give it a height of auto, and let me refresh this part because we should be able to see that by now. Don't worry. Let's give it a background color first of all in order for you to be able to see it. And okay, it's not here. My bad, it's right here. There you go. Okay, then just border radius 10 pixels, overflow hidden. Now we need to target our chat underscore header, which is this part, my header that has that class. So again, nesting chat underscore header. I need to say first of all some padding, 1 a.m., 1 a.m. Not A, just EM, my apologies. So position relative for this part, text align discern. Now background color should be orange, so orange color, and color should be white naturally. There you go. Now we need to change the size, so H1, need to change the font size to 1 rem, so font size 1 rem. Then I need to target the button, so inside of this header we have a button, yes, close form, just gonna call it button because we are using nesting. And let's go with position absolute, right 6% of 20 pixels, sorry, 12 pixels, outline none, border none. Now let's give it a background color of transparent and a color, a text color for white for my button. Let's get a cursor pointer and font size 1 rem, like so. Okay, this is our head, like this part. See? Okay, it's taking shape. Now we can go outside of our button in this part and go with chat underscore inputs. Let's give it a padding 1 a.m. There you go. Now we need to target our label. Let's go and display this as a block element. Let's give it some margin at the bottom of 1 rem. Now we need to target our inputs. So input, each input as a default is this input as a default is displayed as an inline block element. So we just need to say width 100%, then give it some padding and a margin bottom. So right here, some padding, margin bottom. There you go. Now outside of these inputs, scroll down. We need to target our chat underscore form, which is chat underscore form. Where are you? Yeah, the form itself is the form itself. So chat underscore form. I need to target my footer and say text align, box shadow, and padding, and doing nesting again for my button. Inside of my button, inside of my footer, I have a button, as you can see, is right there. Okay, but I forgot to say text align at the right, to push that button at the right side, like this. Hold on. Okay, like this, our final view. Okay, is taking shape. Now the actions. First of all, with the button. So where is start chat? Start chat. Where are you? Yeah, right here. So start chat. So JS, we need to apply the transition property and transition value. Okay. Now with the chat box right here, let's set the initial position or values. Okay, so C index is going to be -1. Okay, let's remove this for now because this was for in order to see. This is going to be our final view. When we click on that, it's going to change this C index back to 9. All right, so again, opacity of none, and again a transition with by value of transition, and those are my initial values. So outside of the chat box, outside of the chat box, which is actually start chat, right here, start chat, we need to say the following: start chat, if that has the class of active, we need to set the opacity back to 0. Why? Because when I click this button, where are you, it vanishes and let the form shows up. Okay, this is happening, the JS class. Then I need to say the chat box active. Where are you? Chat box. So outside of everything. So if chat underscore box has the class of active, I need to change again. I set index, C index back to 9, and to give it opacity of 1. You know, from the initial values till the final values. Okay. Now our main JS. Let's go back right here at the very top. We need to do some DOM manipulation. So this is for the chat. I have 3 elements. I need 3 elements. First, I need the start chat. Where are you? The button. I need this button, start chat. Second, I need the chat box itself. And finally, to close this, I need this minus button. And actually, it is the close form. So having said that, let's grab those elements and put them right here. So this is 1 and we have 2. Start chat, the button, chat box, my form itself, and the closed form, which is this minus sign here to get rid of that form. See? Now here we're gonna have the same idea. We're gonna just toggle some classes. So we say start chat, which is the button. We're gonna attach a listener, which is going to be naturally click, and my callback function. Again, we just need, instead of toggling, we are going just to add that class. So basically, we're gonna add the class of active for my start chat button, and that means that that button will go away, just vanishes with the opacity of 0. And then my chat box, which is the whole box, is going to show up. So in this case, this active class is this C index 9 and opacity of 1. Now let's go and give it a whirl. And there you go. Now I need to establish my close button here, my minus button. Pretty much the same idea. Just need to call close form that add event listener of what? Of click. Callback function, pretty straightforward. Instead of adding those classes, we are going what? We're going to remove them. So 1, 2, 3, remove, and that should do it. Let's see. And we remove it, and we add it, and we remove it. Great, awesome. Now, for the form, don't be greedy. This is just going to be styling. If you want to do something with that, you can grab those elements and do whatever you want. But I think that is pretty much it. So, good job. Thank you guys for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed as much as I did. I know it was quite long enough, but I believe that you learned something or just practice something, okay? Remember, this is NeoDev. Let's grow together, and I'll see you in the next one.
Good job!